Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cinematic Venom. I've been absent for the last two episodes. I do apologize. So, a quick rundown, book-wise. The third one was my favorite of the first four, and this one was the one that was so boring, it actually scared me away from reading all of the other books and put me off watching any of the movies for about a decade. Goblet of Fire, as a kid, when was it published?
2000.
2000.
No, I was nine, and it bored me senseless. And I was like, when are they going to get to Hogwarts?
I mean,
It's so boring.
I mean,
It's so painfully boring.
in
Yeah.
in fairness, 9-year-olds do have short attention spans.
I was able to read the first three,
Yeah, but the first three are like half the length of the book four.
and they had pretty pictures. Goblet of Fire. Overall, both of you summarize Goblet of Fire in one sentence.
It
Boring
fucking
as
sucks.
boring as shit.
Fair
Jesus
enough.
Christ.
There's a lot of padding and filler.
Yes.
Yes. But just to kick things off as a quick bit of background trivia, I suppose. So Goblet of Fire came out in 2000, obviously successful like the first two. But it's considerably longer than the first two. Adalynn, how long was your copy of the book?
734 pages.
You
Off
keep
the
saying
top of my
first two. What happened to the third one? You
Which-
said it was successful like the first two.
Oh
this is
no, but
part
I
four.
mean the first three. The first three.
Oh, he's retconned Prisoner of Azkaban. It never happened.
No, I mean
Excellent.
in fair, I mean you've obviously missed the last episode. I did not like Prisoner of Azkaban as much as the first two. I thought it was the weakest of the three.
Yeah. No,
Um,
but yeah, my copy is 734 pages of Goblet of Fire, and
Yeah.
it took a million years to get through it this
Yeah,
time.
this
Dave, how do you read? Because you don't have hands. How are you turning the pages?
I'm a creature of many skills. Let's leave it at that.
Because even if you had an audiobook, you don't even have ears.
Well, I don't have
How
ears.
are you doing these calls?
Well, you don't have ears that you can see.
How
Maybe
would you
I'm
put
not.
a headset on? Are you sat there with Dr. Dre Beats on your head? Like what? You don't even have a head. Is that a head? You're a blob.
Oh,
I
man.
think this is steering into a direction that is besides the point.
Anyway, okay. So, what are some of the pointlessly dragged out scenes in this book? Come on.
Everything.
Okay, we'll start.
Let's have 20 pages about the World Cup.
Okay, we'll start at the very first chapter. Is about a character entirely from the point of view of a character called Frank.
Oh, Frank. We all know Frank.
Okay, so for context, Frank, do you remember the movie? The movie opens and there's an old man and he sees a light in the Riddle House.
Yes. Oh, that's Frank.
That is Frank. Frank
Oh,
is the
Frank.
Now Frank has fuck all characterization in the movie. Like you wouldn't know
He didn't
was...
even have a name.
Yeah, you wouldn't know he was called Frank unless you read the book. But in the book, Frank, there's a backstory that okay, he's laughing.
Because Frank is just a funny name. There's
Frank.
names like Carl, Greg, and Frank.
And then Craig.
And Bob.
Oh,
Lots of single syllable names are funny. Anyway, so
Dave.
Frank, yeah, point taken. Frank is he was the gardener for Tom Riddle Sr. and his wife, so Voldemort's parents. And obviously, Voldemort's parents were mysteriously murdered. Now, the Wizarding world blamed this on
Frank.
no, not on Frank.
Carl.
The Muggles blamed it on Frank. The Wizarding world blamed it on a guy called Marvolo, who is not relevant for this book, but will be relevant.
no,
later books.
they actually no, they blamed it on Morphin, Voldemort's uncle.
Morphin, sorry, yeah, I mixed the two up.
Morphin Gaunt.
Morphin Gaunt, who is Voldemort's uncle, but he will not be relevant until a later book.
Yes.
So in this chapter, you learn a little bit about Frank's backstory. You learn that all the villagers assumed that he murdered the Riddles. And then the chapter ends as it does in the movie. He sneaks into the house because he sees a light and he sees Wormtail with Voldemort. And then the chapter ends with him being murdered, as he does in the movie.
And the thing is, it's a decent chapter to open with. It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Do you know
It's
what
nice.
I've noticed? The books seem to have an extreme amount of backstory for Voldemort, like very detailed to the point we know his parents' gardener. And then the movies are just like, fuck it, it's a bloke in a cloak.
Yeah. The movie, I think it's more relevant to Half-Blood Prince than it is here, but like all the stuff we learn about Voldemort's past, it's not like it's not meant to make you feel sorry for him. It's more like a case of like, okay, he's an evil monster now, but at one point he was a person, you know, not a normal person, but he was a person with a history.
Yeah.
Whereas the movies, he's really just like a bare bones, mustache twirling, you know, and nothing wrong with that. You know, Ray Fiennes, and we'll obviously talk about that later when we talk about Voldemort specifically. But yeah, interestingly enough, in this scene in the Riddle House, Barty Crouch Jr. isn't present.
Yes.
But he is in the film, which doesn't make any sense because the film has essentially ruined the reveal that Mad-Eye Moody is Barty Crouch in the first 2 minutes. And I know that you have problems with that scene.
I mean, you guys will hear me discuss and yell about this in a couple of days in the movie review because it baffles me that it's also in the book. But the way I see it, like you have Voldemort die in the second one, you've gone all of the third one without him being in it. You can then have all of the fourth one focus on the Triwizard Tournament, and then that makes it even more of a shocking reveal when Voldemort comes back at the end of Goblet. But instead, when you show Voldemort in the opening scene, where's the like Voldemort rocks up and anyone's supposed to be like, no, we saw him in the first scene. Does J.K. Rowling just not understand suspense, the silly cow?
I mean, the thing is, you could also argue that, like, at this point, the fact that Voldemort isn't dead isn't a because we saw him not quite alive in the first movie, and obviously in the second book and movie, it's not Voldemort, it's like a manifestation of his personality of some kind. So you could argue that. At the same time, you could say that it would have made a more shocking moment.
Yeah. And then in this chapter, there's another plot point that's cut out entirely. The disappearance of a character called Bertha Jorkins.
Oh, Bertha and Frank. I'm loving Bertha and Frank. Do we get to find out about Phyllis as well? Phyllis Weasley.
I mean, maybe the Weasleys have a long lost aunt. You don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, there's a character called Bertha Jorkins who works at the Ministry, and she mysteriously disappears. It's revealed that a memory charm was placed on her by Barty Crouch Sr. because she just happened to spot Barty Crouch Jr. in their house. Voldemort found out, tortured her to death. So that was fun. That's all.
Is fake Mad-Eye Moody as funny in the book as he is in the film?
He's more intimidating in the book.
Yeah, I mean, the movie played him more for laughs than
What are you doing? Teaching.
Is that a student?
Technically, it's a ferret. it's a great performance from Brendan Gleeson. But yeah, Moody in the book is much more like, well, not threatening because you're not supposed to think he's a bad guy, but like
just intimidating.
Yeah, he's just meant to be more imposing, whereas the movie kind of makes him like, he looks scary, but he's actually a nice guy deep down, whereas that's not really the case in the book.
We're going to skip back and forth because it's all over the place, but I wasn't there for the third call, but Cedric was introduced in part 3.
Yes.
So, but he couldn't make it to the filming schedule for the third movie. So when they kill him in this one, I'm assuming it's a lot more emotional. I mean, to be fair, I did care when he died in the movie, but I'd imagine it's more emotional when you've got 2 books.
Kind of.
I mean, not really, because Cedric, his only personality trait is he's nice. And that's sort of where it begins and ends. There's not much else to him. Like,
yeah,
he's just an all-round nice guy because in Prisoner of Azkaban, there's a plot point where, you know, in the scene where Harry falls off the broom because the Dementors attack him, in that scene, he's playing against the Hufflepuffs, and Cedric actually demands a rematch because he doesn't like the idea of winning unfairly.
He's nice. He's a bit of an all right chap.
Yeah, he's a decent bloke. But there isn't really much. I guess it's more impactful because it wasn't like a character that was introduced in the same story. Whereas, like, just having him as a little background player and then he becomes more prominent later.
Yeah.
I want to address the elephant in the room.
Oh, you
with
want
this
to? You
book.
want to just go for it now? Yeah.
You want to
I'm
go
just
ahead
gonna
and do
I'm just
it?
gonna go in. Right. So
Okay.
people have always said that there's problematic things with these books. And I'm kind of blown away that a lot of people don't bring up what I think's the worst part. So obviously people have accused J.K. Rowling of racism, and not just because the only black character is called Shacklebolt, along with his Canadian friend Syrup Mapleface,
Oh
um,
God.
or the fact that Cho Chang two completely different Asian words from two completely different Asian languages, or the fact that Nagini is an Indian name and she decided to cast a South Korean lass because that's the same thing. Um, there's so much. I mean, first of all, is this the book where they introduce squibs? Can we, or was
No,
that somewhere else?
Squibs was in Chamber of Secrets because it's
Yes.
revealed that Filch is a squib.
So you've got even the squib thing, which I can't remember if we mentioned it in the first one, which is basically people being ableist towards children who don't have magic. So that's another thing to add. Um, This one is horrifically racist.
Yeah.
And I hear one thing that gets brought up, and we'll talk about these separately. I just want to list both in quick succession here. The first one, which is actually made worse when you see that J.K. Rowling says that she ships a black Hermione, even though the first book clearly states that Hermione is white. But it would be so much worse if Hermione was black, because this book has Hermione be the only character who's trying to free elves from slavery. And if she was black and she's being vilified for trying to free slaves, are you all right, Joe? Who upset you? And there's actual lines of dialogue where Ron says something along the lines of, "They want to be prisoners, Hermione." That's one thing. And then the other one that I just never hear get mentioned is the Eastern European characters. Now, when you write dialogue for someone who has an accent, I've never, outside of Harry Potter, I've seen writers write someone with a lisp and actually write the words like TH instead of whatever, or with a speech impediment, I've heard them put a W instead of an R. I've never heard someone write a foreign speaking character's dialogue phonetically before. Like, if can you imagine if I wrote a movie about an Asian character, a Chinese character, and wrote it phonetically and pronounce like changed their R's to W's, I would never get work again. But in this one, this motherfucker actually has Viktor Krum speaking like Dracula, and she's actually wrote it phonetically. What do you want, Harry?
Oh.
What is like this isn't a thing. Why?
Yeah.
How did no like we all read this as kids. Adults read this. Yeah, that's all right, Joe. We can put that out in the public. And it's not even like it was written in 1943. It was written in fucking 2000. What is going on?
Yeah. No, there's a couple
It's
examples, but there's a couple examples with Fleur as well. We get to the chapter where it's like right after Harry's been chosen and the Goblet of Fire, and she doesn't believe Ludo Bagman of him saying, "Oh, Harry got his name picked," and this is literally quote. They are saying that this little boy is to compete also. Are you kidding me? Why?
Yeah.
Why did she think this was a good idea? Like, what is the meaning of this, Dumbledore? What the fuck is this?
All you have to do is Victor Crumb said in his thick accent. You don't have to write it phonetically, Joe. And it's so over the top, it is funny. Like, despite being horrifically racist, it's so extremely over the top that you can't help but laugh.
Yeah. Dumbledore must have made a mistake with the line. What the fuck, Rowling? Why?
As you guys want to talk about the slavery, the
Okay.
slavery
God,
stuff.
please.
We'll
Oh,
talk
dear.
about, so this is the infamous plot line. Like, even fans, even people who love the Harry Potter books, all kind of collectively
Even
agree
they think this is too much.
like that this was a terrible idea. The infamous plot point, SPEW. So
It's not SPEW.
yeah, so for context, so what happens, and this requires a little bit of backtracking, with a character called Winky. Stop laughing, it's not funny.
Don't
Wink,
laugh, Rob.
Winky and Frank.
Okay, so
Stop.
It sounds like a Cartoon Network show. Frank and Winky.
Stop it. It's not funny.
Yeah, so Winky is the house elf. Stop laughing, it's not
Winky
funny.
and the brain.
Oh my
Rob.
Oh,
Okay, I'm gonna get through this. Sorry.
okay, it's fine. We'll keep this in. It'll all make it. So Winky, for fuck's sake, stop laughing.
Quit laughing. It isn't funny.
A grown adult sat in an executive room. I need a new character for this house elf. What do you reckon? Winky.
It's not that.
You're a grown ass man.
You are 33 years old.
Oh,
You're a grown ass man, Rob.
Winky. What should we name? What should we name Hagrid's brother? Penis. Foreskin. Go for it.
Oh,
Right. Tell me about your Winky.
Okay, so Winky is Barty Crouches' house elf. So Barty Crouch Senior's house elf. And there's a plot point where at the Triwizard Tournament, do you remember the scene where someone blasts the dark mark into the sky and Harry sees it? And yeah. So in that scene, Harry's wand goes missing when the Death Eaters attack. He's like, fuck, where's my wand? I don't know where my wand is. And suddenly they find this wand in the hand of Winky. And Barty's Crouch starts treating her like shit. He's like, right, you're getting clothes, you're being freed. And Winky freaks out. She's like, no, don't free me, let me still be your servant. And Hermione's horrified by this because she's like, what's going on? This isn't fair. She didn't do anything. And Barty Crouch is like, nah, she can fuck off. And this essentially kicks off Hermione's crusade for elf rights, because when they get to the Hogwarts feast, she learns that all the food that magically appears before them is prepared by house elves, and the house elves, like, it's slave labor. The house elves aren't paid to do anything, and Hermione is horrified at this. But
she's the only one.
Yeah, and she is the only one who's horrified by this, and no one else seems like, I'm blanking on the word here, but like sort of disgusted by this. So like, it just comes off as really odd. It's just such a strange plot point.
I was going to say, this is when Hermione creates SPEW, or the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare.
SPEW.
Yeah.
Or they make fun of it.
It's not SPEW. That's what she would say. And she tries to get people to be a part of it, and Ron and Harry only become involved in it just so she could shut the fuck up.
Which is so...
Are you kidding me? And then even Harry's annoyed by this, and I'm like, Harry, you literally helped get Dobby to be free in Chamber of Secrets. Why the fuck are you changing now? Why?
Yeah, but can I just say, the weirdest thing, right? So you could argue with like Ron, who's never known anything other than the wizarding world, that he could maybe not understand why this is so horrifying.
Yeah.
And like, you could argue that because Hermione was born in the human world, and because she understands what slavery is and how humans have experienced slavery, that she obviously sees this very differently. But it's like, Harry also grew up in the human world and grew up being abused by his aunt and uncle. So like, surely he of all people should be like sympathetic to Hermione's cause, but like multiple times he's just like rolling his eyes and just like, fucking hell, Hermione, okay, fine, I'll join your club, just leave me alone. It's just such a strange plot point.
Yep.
Is this also the same book that Hagrid says something not very pleasant about foreigners?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll try and find the line. Hang on.
Hang on. Maybe I can find it.
Doesn't Vernon say it as well? But you kind of expect it from Vernon.
That's in the next.
With his fat fingers and his necklace face.
Yeah. So the quote verbatim is, "I'll be having a words with her and all," Hagrid said grimly, stomping up the stairs. "The less you lot have to do with these foreigners, the happier you'll be. You can't trust any of them." So bear in mind, this is after. This is slightly different because this is after Madam and Maxine and Hagrid have had a falling out, and maybe we'll talk about that later. But so he's obviously angry at them, and this probably isn't reflective of who Hagrid is. But like, divorced from the context, it looks odd. Let's just leave it.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and bring up Madame Maxime now. There's also racism towards half giants in this book, because we find out that Hagrid's a half giant, which no shit.
Their relationship's dragged out a lot more in the book, isn't it?
No, actually.
Oh, is it not?
No.
I thought it was pointless in the movie.
It's way more brief in the book because, like, at the Yule Ball, they actually have an intense argument because, well, Hagrid's like, "Oh, which of your parents was a giant?" And she's like, "I'm not half giant," and we're like, "You're taller than Hagrid." And she basically storms away, and I don't really think they interact for the rest of the book. But yes, Rita Skeeter publishes an article in the Daily Prophet. Oh yeah, Rita Skeeter. We'll get into her soon. About Hagrid being half giant, and everyone's like fucking racist towards Hagrid. So yay, we love to see it.
Is Viktor Krum a paedophile in the book?
Well,
I mean, if you guys, you'll see it in the review, but like in the movie, man looked about 36 and Emma Watson was 14 when they filmed it. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean,
in the book, I think Viktor Krum was 17, 18 years old and Hermione was 15. And according to Half-Blood Prince, they made out.
Which is illegal.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Rowling. Thanks for putting my...
Add pedophilia in here. Very good.
Yeah, just make this book worse.
I want to ask about my bleach blonde boy, Draco, because I'm going to keep coming back to him because the redemption arc really gets on my tits that it wasn't done. And I think Goblet of Fire could have been where they started sprinkling some foreshadowing and having him and Hermione having a moment. I'll still ship them, don't care. Fuck the ginger twat. I'll drop some hints, but what does he do in the movie? Sorry, what does he do in the book?
Absolutely fuck all.
Yeah.
Like Draco is basically not a character.
Just like the movie then. It's like the movie. He shows up, gets owned by Buckbeak.
Yeah.
It's literally just him doing fuck all, bullying Harry, Ron, and Hermione every chance he gets, but other than that, he literally does nothing.
He's barely even a character at this. I mean, even in the movies, he was barely even a character by this.
They forgot he existed after 2.
Yeah.
For like 3, 4, and 5, they're like, "Oh yeah, Draco, we'll get Tom Felton in, but he's not going to do anything." Should we talk about the line that Dumbledore said so very calmly? I mean, Dave actually thinks that the movie version makes more sense for him to be erratic when he says it.
Yeah, well, my defense is, like, you could argue that Michael Gambon's delivery was maybe slightly off, and I would blame that more on the director than him. But I don't see why Dumbledore would be calm in this situation. It's like this boy, who he obviously cares a lot about, has just been entered into a tournament where him dying is a very real possibility. So, like, I didn't read it as him being angry at Harry and be like, "Why did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" It's like, I read it as him being, like, scared. Like, he was scared for this guy's life.
Do you know what I love about this one is that in part 3, Harry's not allowed to go on a field trip without parental permission. But in this one, he's allowed to enter a tournament and risk his life because someone else put his name in the goblet. And Dumbledore, who violates the Ministry's rules all the time, he's like, "No, Harry, I'm terribly sorry. There's nothing I can do. My hands are tied."
Yeah, no. Basically, this is how it all goes in the books version. Professor Dumbledore was now looking down at Harry, who looked right back at him, trying to discern the expression of the eyes behind the half-moon spectacles. "Did you put your name into the Goblet of Fire, Harry?" he asked calmly. "No," said Harry. "That's all." But in the movie, Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? It's so.
In the book, is it like the movie where all of the spectators being there are completely pointless because they don't see anything? Like the first challenge, Harry flies off and finds the dragon in the sky. The second one, they're all underwater, and then the third one, they teleport.
In the book, with the first task, they actually did see Harry beat the dragon because Harry did not go miles and miles away like in the movie. He stayed in the arena the entire time in the book.
Yeah. Also, the dragon was considerably bigger, so it's sort of... I don't know whether they couldn't spend too much on the CGI.
Size seems to matter to Dave.
Well, in terms of dragons, yes, big dragons are cooler than smaller dragons. So one thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm sure Adalynn will concur, is the sheer amount of bloat in this book. Like there is the padding and filler in this is absurd.
Dave was in our group chat, slowly losing his mind.
Yes.
We would get messages. It took him a long time to get through this book, guys. We'd get messages every few days. It's still going! How is there this many fucking chapters?
Yeah, because
it was comical, and then I'm over here like, yeah, just wait till Order of the Phoenix. You'll understand. Like, that's how I felt going to Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, just to show a comparison, we're going to just go through. We'll just talk about how many chapters are in the Harry Potter books. So, book 1 had 17 chapters. You know, very healthy, very respectable. Book 2, 18 chapters. Again, you know, pretty normal. Book 3, 22. Okay, we're getting a little bit longer. Book 4 has 37.
Yep. Yay.
What do you need that many chapters for?
Like, oh, yeah. Well, yeah, just wait till Order of the Phoenix. It's even longer.
Yeah. Because it's like when you look at what actually happens in comparison to the movie. So the first chapter is the backstory of Frank, that classic character Frank. Chapter 2 and chapter 3 is Harry chilling out at Privet Drive. He's still putting up with his aunt and uncle. The Weasleys turn up to pick him up to take him to the Quidditch World Cup. Then the next two chapters is them just chilling out at the Burrow. Then the next chapter is them getting the Portkey. The chapter after that is meeting Ludo Bagman and Barty Crouch. The next chapter is the entire Quidditch World Cup match. The next
what chapter are we on now? When you get to the World Cup, what chapter?
When you get to the World Cup, it's chapter 8.
8?
Yep.
They put 8 chat. That's the first scene in the fucking movie, isn't it?
And then the next chapter after that is when the Dark Mark gets fired into the sky. The next chapter after that is them coming back to the Burrow and Mr. Weasley's dealing with all the shit that's going down at the Ministry because there's chaos. Then in chapter 11, they get on board the Hogwarts Express.
So what's Frank up to these days after the Harry Potter universe?
I don't know. But like, just to give some perspective, all of the first 10 chapters in the book are covered in 15 minutes in the movie.
Yes.
Is Cho in this one?
She is, yes. This is where sort of, again, she was introduced in the last book, but this is where she's given more to do and she's given a characterization and personality and stuff.
Oh, does Ginny?
Actually, kind
of. Sort of.
I think this is the point in the series where her arc begins and she becomes a better character. Because
this is where we're going to start to see angry Adalynn the more that they develop Ginny and the movies don't.
Yes. Yes. Because exactly. this Ginny in this book sets up her in Order of the Phoenix, where she's so much different. She's more like herself and she's confident and shit. And by Order of the Phoenix, she can finally talk in front of Harry. Like, she could talk directly to him without being embarrassed. And I can't wait to get to that part because it's one of the best parts of Order of the Phoenix. But yeah, this is where it starts, sort of.
Essentially, characters in the books have personalities. Characters in the movie have names, and that's
although sometimes the personalities in the books aren't the best when it comes to racism.
I mean, yes, you could make that argument. Yes.
Yeah.
But also, from the sounds of it, Harry's also a bit of a dick. More of that to come in the next one.
Yes, but
in that one, it's justified because of the ending of this book.
Yeah, but just to reel off a couple more superfluous scenes, we have really character-driven scenes like Harry and the Weasleys having dinner.
Well, what did they have for dinner? Did you write that down, Dave? What did they have for dinner?
I was too focused on the act of them having dinner to notice.
You were blown away. Maybe they had dumplings.
Yeah. They've also got Mr. Weasley trying to pay the campsite manager. The trio bump. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, I need to know how much he paid him.
Yeah. Then we've got, the trio bumping into Seamus at the World Cup. The trio going to look up for water when they're at the World Cup. A wizard couple having an argument at the World Cup when the husband tries to put on a nightgown. It's like, what do these scenes contribute? I fail to see why we needed to spend so much time at the World Cup, because that's something that people bring up as a criticism of the movie. It's like, we barely got to see the World Cup. Who fucking cares about the World Cup?
Voldemort's back.
It's a pointless detour that really only exists because they need to introduce Viktor Krum and they need to introduce Barty Crouch Senior and Ludo Bagman, but we'll talk more about him later. And I guess obviously it's the impetus of like the mystery because you see the dark mark and they're like, holy fuck, the Death Eaters are back. But it's like, you can condense, like, this whole thing takes 10 chapters. It could have been told in like 5, like maybe 6 if we were feeling really generous. Anyway, rant over. Okay, so once we get through the sheer amount of bloat that's in the first third of the book,
it keeps going.
It keeps going, yes, unfortunately, yes. So the various foreign schools, so Beaubaton and I'm blanking on the other one. Durmstrang, thank you. They arrive a lot later than they do in the movie. In the movie, it's literally like 20 odd minutes in the book. They don't show up until about halfway through.
Yeah, they don't show up. Yeah, they don't show up until the night before the champions are chosen. And the night the champions are chosen is actually on Halloween. So that's fun.
Yeah, but obviously we then get the famous scene where Harry is taken, his name gets taken out of the cup, and Ron's obviously not massively happy about this. But the movie played it way differently, because in the movie it's like, oh, Ron's jealous because Harry gets all the attention, and it's I mean, it's a frustrating plot point in the movie anyway. I don't know whether you want to talk about that, Rob.
Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense in the movie. It's just I can't believe you'd put your own name in that. I didn't. Oh, all right.
Yeah, but in the book it's played slightly differently, and I actually kind of prefer it. It's like, because Ron has always, first of all, Ron isn't nearly as angry about it. He's just kind of like a bit iffy about it. Like, he's a lot more resentful in the movie. Whereas in the book, it's all the animosity really comes from Harry. Like, Harry just like, because Ron doesn't quite believe him, and Harry is the one who's like, right, I'm never speaking to you again. Fuck you. Stay away from me. Which is like, Harry, I mean, it becomes worse in Order of the Phoenix, but Harry is like considerably more unreasonable and bad-tempered than he is in the movies.
No, but the Ron Harry animosity leads to one of the most savage scenes in the entire series. So, and this is 3 paragraphs, and I quote, "Just thought you'd come nosing around, did you?" Harry shouted. He knew that Ron had no idea what he'd walked in on, knew he hadn't done it on purpose, but he didn't care. Pause. This is after the Sirius scene in the fire. At this moment, he hated everything about Ron, right down to the several inches of bare ankles showing beneath his pajama trousers. "Sorry about that," said Ron, his face reddening with anger. "Should have realized you didn't want to be disturbed. I'll let you get on with practicing for your next interview in peace." Harry seized one of the Potter really stinks badges off the table and chucked it as hard as he could across the room. I mean, it hit Ron on the forehead and bounced off. He fucking hits him in the face.
Good.
What the fuck? When I heard that part on the most recent run through, I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Speaking of that, shall we talk about Sirius and his not presence in the movie? Like,
well, he was busy making Batman.
Yeah, he was doing Batman Begins. But Gary Oldman's face, he pops up in the fire and then he fucks off.
So what does he do in the book?
So in the book, sort of towards like the start of the 3rd act, Sirius says, okay, this whole tournament thing's weird. Something's clearly up. I'm going to come to Hogsmeade, so just outside Hogwarts. And he comes up, and he's essentially basically the same as in the movie, saying like, something's going on. Someone must have put your name in the goblet on purpose. Someone's trying to kill you. And then towards the end, he shows up after Harry comes back from the maze, and he's there to support Harry, and it sort of sets up his role in Order of the Phoenix, where he's housing the Order of the Phoenix at his house. So that's Sirius's role in the Goblet of Fire, which is not much. It's more than the movie, which I'm bitter because A, Sirius is my favorite character, and B, Gary Oldman's my favorite actor. So
yeah, it's kind of sad that he's barely in the movie, but at least he had some scenes in the book. He's also there after the battle with Harry and Voldemort in the hospital wing, which is I think it's actually my favorite scene in the book, but we'll get to it in a little bit.
Yes. So the other character who was mysteriously vanished in the movie is Dobby.
Oh yeah, Dobby's not in this one.
I was always confused because Dobby's in part. he's in part 2, vanishes for about 5 films, shows up and dies, and everyone's like, "Oh no, it's so sad." Was it?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
he didn't do anything.
In the books, he's in it for 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. He's just not in 1 and 3. That's
He's in
it.
quite a big plot device in 5 as well. So
He's a big plot device. He's honestly a big plot because here it's like through Dobby. So we learn that Dobby has been working in the Hogwarts kitchens and that Dumbledore's paying him. And it's through Dobby that sort of the house elf plotline gets explored a bit more, where he's explaining that house elves are basically magically bound to want to do service for people. Like it's in their nature. They don't know anything else. Or it's magic rather. Which is already slightly strange. It's like, but they want to be slaves, so it's like, and it's like, fucking hell. Yeah. And then through Dobby's also the one who finds the gillyweed instead of Neville.
Yeah.
Which
I actually prefer that Neville had it in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't mind Neville doing it because it's like he gets more prominent later, so it was a nice way to sort of bring him into the story a little bit more. So, do we want to talk about the Yule Ball?
is it more in the book, I'm assuming, because in the movie they have this whole big deal about, oh my God, Hermione looks stunning. She looks exactly the same, but in a different dress. Whereas in the books, Hermione obviously looks like an ugly cow. So it's more of a glow up.
Pretty
I'm
much.
assuming.
Well, I mean, because it's easier to describe that in a book to say like Hermione has buck teeth and bushy hair, which incidentally, like buck teeth and bushy hair are not inherently ugly things because I have seen people with big teeth and bushy hair who are very good looking. Anyway.
But there's a moment in the book where Harry and Draco or Malfoy, they get into a duel and both of their spells miss, and Draco's spell hits Hermione and it makes her front teeth grow at an alarming rate. And she goes to and there's a moment where Snape's like, I see no difference. And Hermione goes to the hospital wing and Madame Pomfrey shrinks her teeth back down to how it was. But
what's going on?
Hermione actually has her go on a little bit longer so that her teeth look more normal and not buck.
She doesn't have buck teeth anymore. Now she can look normal and not.
This sounds like something from Sword in the Stone. Why is her teeth growing? What's happening?
I don't know. But the moment that basically the glow up with Hermione, it's a bigger deal in the book because yes, she's described as ugly in the fucking books, unfortunately.
Whereas Emma Watson looks like Emma Watson.
Yeah. So this is basically the paragraph during the Yule Ball. But she didn't look like Hermione at all. She had done something with her hair. It was no longer bushy, but sleek and shiny and twisted up into an elegant knot at the back of her head. She was wearing robes made of a floaty periwinkle blue material, and she was holding herself differently. Somehow, or maybe it was merely the absence of the 20 or so books she usually had slung over her back, she was also smiling. Rather nervously, it was true, but with the reduction in the size of her front teeth was more noticeable than ever. Harry couldn't understand how he hadn't spotted it before. Yeah.
So it's more of a big deal in the book than it is in the movies.
Yes.
The ball itself is pretty much the same. It's sort of like Harry and Ron have trouble looking for a date. They take the two twins, Padma and I'm blanking, Parvati. Is that the other one?
Parvati and Padma Patil. Actually, in the movies, they had the twins both be in Gryffindor, but I think Padma Patil is actually in Ravenclaw. In the books.
Yeah, they mentioned
Big
that.
up Ravenclaw. We haven't even gone through our houses. I'm a Ravenclaw.
Yeah, I'm a Slytherin.
I'm a Gryffindor.
You're actually a Slytherin. That makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah, you're just like,
Snape would be a Slytherin.
So I took a test and it said I was Ravenclaw, and then I was like, this is stupid. And then like 6 months later, just out of curiosity, I took a second one. And it said Ravenclaw again. I was like, okay, I can't beat the system. I'm a Ravenclaw. Which is weird. My son's also a Ravenclaw, and then my partner's a Hufflepuff, and then my daughter took one, and she's also a Hufflepuff.
Oh dear. So very split down the middle family.
Of my family, my oldest sibling is the only person in the family who's a Slytherin.
Can we just point out how fucking nerdy this conversation is? I'm the Ravenclaw. What about you guys?
Exactly.
But no, this is the scene where it's basically implied very early on that Ron and Hermione have feelings for each other.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
It's Draco and Hermione are a thing.
Shut the fuck up. No, no, I do
Shall
not
we?
ship
Yeah,
Drum.
let's put
I don't ship Hermione.
Yeah, let's put a pin in this, and we'll talk about it in when's Draco next relevant? Half-Blood Prince.
It should be 5. I'm going to mention it in 5.
Okay, we'll do it in 5 then. How about that?
And 6 and 7.
And 7 because you have a thing for Draco, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I have a thing for bleach blonde anti-heroes with a redemption arc.
Yeah, like Spike, because you don't get over fucking Buffy.
Oh, do you know I like Buffy? Well, this reminds me of Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
No!
season 1, episode 1. So it all starts. See, Buffy is
No.
But
We don't want to hear the sob story about how you love Buffy so fucking much and how you're in love with Spike. We don't want to hear it. Anyways, moving on.
Buffy belonged with Angel. Anyway, moving on. Anyway, moving on.
Did the book also have McGonagall dance with Ron?
No.
No.
Unfortunately not.
Well, unfortunately. So does this mean Snape?
It's
So did Snape dance with Malfoy?
Maybe.
It was a funny scene. It was a funny scene. That's why.
Malfoy, let's dance the night away.
I don't want to, sir.
Wait till my father hears about this.
Malfoy, please put your hand on my waist.
That would have been a sight to
And
behold.
your other hand on my shoulder will dance the night away.
Let me lead, boy.
You lead and I will follow. But speaking of Snape, he doesn't really do a great deal in either the book or the movie. He's just kind of there in the background.
There's really only like one big scene in the book that he's involved in, and it's when Harry is nearly caught out of bed at night under his invisibility cloak by Filch, Snape, and who we assume is Moody, but of course it's Barty Crouch Jr. And Barty Crouch Jr. actually confiscates the Marauders map because Harry saw Barty Crouch in Snape's like cupboard, basically stealing ingredients of Polyjuice potion, and he thinks it's just Barty Crouch, but he doesn't know it's his son.
Yeah, because speaking of sort of Barty Crouch, he's given a lot more scenes and a lot more depth in the book. Because so if you remember the scene where Harry looks in the pensive and he sees the trial where then it turns out that Barty Crouch's son is a Death Eater.
Yeah, you actually see the trial where Barty Crouch Jr. is like basically being sentenced along with Sebastian and Rodolphus Lestrange and Bellatrix. This is when Bellatrix is introduced.
Yeah. So we get like a glimpse of Bellatrix, which obviously the movies didn't do because I
Who's
guess
Bellatrix played by in the book?
What?
Who's she played by in the book?
Kate Winslet.
Okay, Kate Winslet, good choice.
Kate Winslet. No.
In the book, it's horrifying. It's like this 17-year-old kid like screaming for his mum, like, "Dad, I didn't do it. Mum, don't let him put me in prison." And it's really like,
have we all checked on J.K. Rowling? I think she needs to see a therapist because she's clearly writing about some serious issues.
It's actually a really sad scene, and you wouldn't assume that he was actually a Death Eater until the end, where it was all an act, and he's one of the most sinister characters in the entire series. The mystery with Barty Crouch Jr. is the best part of the book. I still stand by this. I think the mystery is actually really well done, especially because Barty Crouch Sr., this scene is not in the movie. In the movie, Harry just stumbles across his dead body. That does not happen in the book. Barty Crouch Sr. just stumbles onto the Hogwarts grounds. It's like something out of Hitchcock. I'm not kidding. It's like something out of like Psycho or something. And he's mad. He's crazy. And he's like, must speak to Dumbledore. He's going crazy. And then when he goes and gets Dumbledore and comes back, he's gone. It turns out Barty Jr. killed him, transfigured him into a bone, and buried him in Hagrid's garden.
It's a pretty grisly end for him.
Yes. Whereas in the movie, he's just, he's dead.
Yeah. Oh well. Moving on.
Hello, he's dead. Come on, bro. That was the one aspect that they fucked up in the movie. One of the many, but still.
Yeah. I mean, incidentally, I want to counter what you said slightly. I think the mystery in concept is really good. In execution, not so much, because it brings me on to my next point, which is Voldemort's incomprehensible master plan,
Oh yeah, right. I forgot about
which
that.
is
That part was not great.
which is bad in the book, and the movie made it worse. So because so much of what happens like relies on just blind luck, where like so many things could have gone wrong, but they don't. Like everything just happens to work out in his favor. So just to break down Voldemort's incomprehensible plan. So step one, we'll break Barty Crouch Jr. out of prison, which is already odd because it's like, didn't the books explicitly say that Sirius was the first one to do it? So like what?
Yeah, but the thing is, they did not know that Barty Crouch Jr. escaped. They had no idea because what happened was
Oh, that's fair.
his mother comes into Azkaban, drinks Polyjuice potion to look like Barty Crouch Jr., and they switch, and the Dementors are blind. They sense one dying person coming in and then one dying person leaving. The dying person was Barty Crouch Jr. disguised as his mother.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
how
even still, that relies on a lot of
still
blind luck.
strange.
Yeah. It's like, and then also the thing with the Death Eaters. So in the movie, it's like implied that the Death Eaters were there on Voldemort's orders because Barty Crouch Jr. is there and he's the one that shoots the mark into the sky. Whereas in the book, like Barty Crouch Jr. is there because Winky convinces Barty Crouch Sr. to take this former Death Eater to the Quidditch World Cup because she's like, oh, but Master loves going to Quidditch. Master must take Junior Master to, I don't know how else I'm speak, but so they take him to the Quidditch World Cup, and Barty Crouch Jr. shakes off the sort of charm that his dad
The
has put on him,
Imperious Curse.
the Imperious Curse, and he realizes, wait, what the fuck? These Death Eaters are here. You know, they're not true followers of Voldemort, so he shoots the Dark Mark into the sky basically to scare them off. And made them like, oh no, let's run away, run away.
Yeah, and the Death Eaters, like the only reason they acted out at the World Cup was because they got wasted. They got drunk and they terrorized the Muggle campsite owners. And it's literally explicitly stated that the mom of the family was flipped upside down to show her underwear under her dress.
But then it's also like the turning the cup into a portkey is like you're relying on so many things, like A, that Harry makes it through the tournament up until that point, that B, no one gets to the cup before him.
Yeah, what if Fleur got there? What if Fleur touched the freaking portkey?
That would have been hilarious.
It's
She
like,
goes
kill the wait.
Voldemort just stood there awkwardly with his wand.
And he's like, oh.
This wasn't supposed to happen.
It's like, kill the
wait.
Wait, who the hell are you?
Who the fuck are you?
Who the hell are you?
Yeah. But then it's also like things like where you know, Moody's like, you know, did you think that Hagrid would show you the dragons if I didn't tell him to do it first? And it's like, well, like, okay, I can understand that because it's like you're playing off of the fact that A, Hagrid knows Harry really well, and B, that he loves magic creatures. So he would want to show Harry the dragons. But then it's like you're relying on A, that then Harry tells Cedric, which is like, you can't know that he'll do that. And then you can't know that Cedric will then say to Harry, oh, by the way, put the egg underwater so you can hear the task. Incidentally, we'll come back to that in a second.
And you also have to keep in mind the Polyjuice potion. Like, what if he just conveniently fucking forgot to take Polyjuice potion once? His whole fucking plan is broken.
Yeah. Like, what if Snape ran out of ingredients?
Yeah, what if Snape ran out of ingredients?
It's like he couldn't keep making it. And then, I don't know, just so much of it just relies on blind, incomprehensible decision making that you're just like, this could never. Also, like, couldn't this have been achieved way easier? Like, if fake Moody was like, he turned a book into a portkey. He's like, welcome to the first week of term, Potter, get me that book. Oh, okay. Lol.
There you go.
Like, that would have been, the plan would have been solved. It's also like, why did he hold up for so long? I don't know. It's such
When I said that the mystery was done well, I mainly just meant the build up to the reveal of Moody being Barty Crouch Jr.
Oh, I see. Fair.
That was done well. Now, Voldemort's plan, no. Speaking of, let's get to the third act where we have an entire fucking chapter of Voldemort just exposition.
Oh, you know what? I don't know what it's like in the book because I think when I read the book and I got to that part, I was so bored. I was in a fucking coma. But the movie, it was a very average film. And then Ray Fiennes shows up, and that third act makes up for it. Voldemort's return is one of the greatest scenes in the franchise. Although, and apparently this is also in the book, and I'm calling him out because I'm a pedantic, autistic motherfucker, but Voldemort tells Harry that his mother is a muggle. She is not a muggle. She has magic powers. He didn't say muggle born. He doesn't say mudblood. He says, your muggle mother. Tom, she's not a muggle, you dumb cunt.
Yes, exactly. Before we delve into this scene, I will say that after this long fucking exposition ass chapter, I do think the book is really good from then until the end. But Voldemort
the
returning.
last 5 chapters are good, but everything before that is good. But the last 5 chapters are really good.
The best part of the book was when it ended.
Yeah, but just to quote that scene that Rob mentioned, "You stand, Harry Potter, upon the remains of my late father," he hissed softly. "A muggle and a fool, very like your dear mother." So make of that what you
want. In the movie, he actually directly says your muggle mother. And I'm like, what?
Anyway, but so as Adalynn said in the book, there is an entire that scene where the Death Eaters show up and he says, "I confess myself disappointed." You know, that entire scene, which is maybe a minute and a half long in the movie, is an entire chapter of him just like, "Where the fuck were you all when I was trapped?"
Does the book have the line, "Harry, I can touch you now"?
Yes,
it does. It does have the line.
And it's so weird. It's so weird. No, that whole chapter of Voldemort just talking with exposition. It's like
it's so good.
Yeah, but it's 12 to 13 pages of Voldemort just talking.
I mean, if it's as cool as it was in the movie.
It's boring in the book.
It's
boring in the book. He does not shut the fuck up.
Like, it's mostly just him yapping about, like, where were you all when my body was destroyed?
And and he's just yapping about the, like, 13 years between him almost killing Harry and the curse rebounding to now.
Exactly. He basically just gives like a recap of all the previous.
And I'm like, Voldemort, we don't care. We know. If you want to kill Harry, just do it.
Why doesn't he just go back and kill him while he's on the crapper or something?
Oh my God.
Scott, you just don't get it, do you?
Yeah. But the Priori Incantatem scene is so fucking good in the book. It is so good. It's one of the best duel scenes in the entire series. It's even more action-packed in the book. It goes on way longer. There's like so many more details. Like there's actually Phoenix song from Fox the Phoenix involved, and there's like a big like golden dome that forms over Harry and Voldemort, basically preventing anyone else from intervening. So
he's back. Voldemort is back.
Shut the fuck up, Rob.
That is a terrible line reading, and
it is. It's okay. It's okay.
Followed immediately by my boy.
That part was good. So
yeah, that's amazing. That's what I mean. So you got some really bad read, and then the other guy's like, "Don't worry, Dan, I've got this." My boy.
Yeah. We're gonna get to this. Well, obviously we have the reveal of Barty Crouch Jr., but there's a detail that was left out of the fucking movie, which I hate that they did. He actually gets the Dementor's kiss
after the whole sort of where Barty Crouch confesses everything that he's done. Dumbledore's like, "Right, Harry, let's get you to the hospital wing. Minerva and Snape, you watch the prisoner," and they go off to the hospital wing. Then later, McGonagall comes in with Cornelius Fudge, and she's really, really angry, and she's like, "What the fuck? What did you do?" And she basically says that Fudge saw who it was, panicked, and got one of the Dementors to give him a kiss, which is important because it means that because the only living witness who can confirm that Voldemort is real, is now dead, that means that the Wizarding World now has no proof that Voldemort is back other than Harry's word.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly frustrating.
Yes, it is. And
then
then we get the scene where Fudge basically just turns on Dumbledore. He basically turns on Dumbledore, and Harry is like, "Oh, Voldemort isn't back. He's not back. What a load of bullshit." And I'm like,
I thought you were going to say bollocks then, because you're doing the
bollocks.
accent.
There
What a load of bollocks.
What a load of bollocks. Right. And
Poppycock.
Yeah.
no. And the thing is, there's actually a moment where he actually says Voldemort's name. Fudge does. And I'm like, you are afraid of this wizard, this almighty being, and you actually refer to him by name. That is out of character for Fudge.
I think it's more just she just wrote down Voldemort and didn't think to change it to New York. Which is like, it's fair, mistakes happen in books. It's not the end of the world.
It is when it's her.
So I think we've covered all the big plot points. So I think now we can just yap about all the extraneous details that we know.
Hold on. There's one scene that I do want to mention.
Oh yeah, go for it. Sorry.
This is my favorite moment of the whole book and one of my favorite scenes of the entire series. The first time Harry ever feels the embrace of a mother, when Mrs. Weasley hugs him in the hospital wing and comforts him, saying, "It's not your fault." It's the first time he's ever felt the embrace of a mother, knowing that his real mother will never hug him. I fucking bawled my eyes out when I got to this part. It was so sad. I felt so bad for Harry here.
No.
I had to mention it.
Yeah.
Such a good moment.
It is. It's a powerful scene. It's a very powerful scene. But there is actually one more thing I want to cover. Good old Rita Skeeter.
Oh God. Oh man.
Another paedophile.
So
in the movie, anyway. Well, actually, yeah.
Or is it the fifth one? There's a scene where she gets in a closet with Harry.
That's in this one. It's in
oh yeah, she gets in the closet. She's like cozy. Is that in the book?
No, not really.
So they made her a pedo in the film for a laugh.
Yeah. No, it's a broom cupboard. You should feel right at home then.
That's a funny line.
That is a good the Rita Skeeter thing, because in the movie she's in like what, 2 scenes?
Yes.
Like she showed up for.
I think it's just one scene.
Because there's the scene with the interview where she puts him in the cupboard, and then there's the scene where she takes a photo of her.
Sorry, it says it so casually.
Yeah.
She puts him in the cupboard.
Yeah, puts him in the cupboard, where she takes a photo of Hermione and Harry having a hug, and she publishes the article. But in the book, she's much more prominent. And throughout the book, it's a recurring thing where she keeps publishing like gossipy articles about everyone at Hogwarts, where it's like, oh, did you know that Hagrid's half giant? Oh, did you know that Harry and Hermione might be together? Oh, blah, 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 all these different...
Yeah, and there's like so many moments where they're like, how in the absolute fuck could she have overheard this?
Yeah, because it's like, there's no plausible way she could have heard this.
Yeah, and then it's revealed at the end that she's an unregistered animagus and can turn into a beetle.
Which is...
Well, of course!
Yeah, because that's how she's been hearing all the gossip, because she's turning into a beetle.
How does J.K. Rowling come up with this stuff? How is she sat there and she's like, you know Hagrid? Yeah? He's part hedgehog. Okay, Joe.
Why is he part hedgehog?
Ask her.
But you're missing the best bit. So at the end of the book, it's revealed that Hermione traps her in a jar in her beetle form. So Hermione has just kidnapped this woman in a jar, and she's just like, "Wow, I've finally beaten you."
Yeah,
and it's like, what? It's so
and
Hermione's a serial killer in the books.
And she blackmails Rita, and she's like, basically says, I don't remember the exact quote, but she's like, I've given her a year to make sure she doesn't like write any nasty, horrible lies about people, or I'm gonna basically reveal her secret to the world. So Hermione is not fucking Mary Sue like she is in the movies. She's actually she's more savage in the books.
Yeah. She's a psychopath. Let's call her what she is. So, I mean, there is one more sort of bigger plot point that I want to talk about. And then after that...
because there's like 400 fucking plot points in this book.
Okay.
Like,
are there any sort of bigger ones that you want to talk
Not
about?
that I can think of at the moment.
Okay, because the one I want to talk about is Fred and George's plot line.
Oh yes. Oh, the Ludo Bagman storyline, basically.
So, Rob, do you know who Ludo Bagman is?
Sounds like a fucking hobbit.
But yeah, I mean, essentially. So Ludo Bagman in the book, he is the guy who's managing the Triwizard tournament with Barty Crouch. And he used to be an ex-Quidditch player. In the flashback scenes, you actually see him being questioned for being a Death Eater. And it turns out he's not. He's just a bit of a...
I love how the
motor
books, just everyone has a character. Oh yeah, Janet. I don't understand. There's just a character for anyone. Anyway, carry on.
Fucking Janet. They make a bet during the Quidditch World Cup that Ireland will win, but Krum will catch the snitch. And they end up being right. And Ludo gives them money, but it ends up being leprechaun gold. So they basically lose all of their fucking life savings.
so they get tons of money, but then don't get anything because all the money disappears and this guy has cheated them out of...
So we've had this conversation where you don't like the fact that the universe mentions vampires being real and never elaborating. Leprechauns are real.
Yes, leprechauns are real. Yes.
Apparently.
And they're never shown.
You got fucking like Warwick Davis leprechaun running around.
Well,
Apparently.
Warwick Davis is already playing half the cast, so he can't be a leprechaun as well. I love the honest trailer because they're like Professor Fleetweek. All of the starring is Warwick Davis. Other name Warwick Davis. He's everyone.
Yeah, he plays like 5 different characters in the movie. But and then later on, the twins bet that Harry will win the tournament, and Ludo Bagman's like, yeah, he'll win the tournament. And then the same thing happens; they lose all their money, and the book ends with Ludo Bagman running away. So the twins have been cheated out of their money, and this is important because the twins want to open a joke shop.
Yeah.
I know where this is going. Yeah.
So this is behind their backs, and they're doing it behind their mum's back, and Mrs. Weasley, because they know Mrs. Weasley wouldn't approve of it. And at the end of the book, Harry gets... So they don't mention this in the movie. At the end of the tournament, the Triwizard champion also wins a shitload of money. And at one point, Harry, he's like, he doesn't want the money because he doesn't want to be associated with what happened with Cedric. Tries to give it to Cedric's parents. They don't want it either. So right at the end of the book, he gives Fred and George the massive bag of gold. And they're like, holy shit, you're giving us this much money? He's like, yeah, I don't fucking want it. You can have it. But I'm not going to tell anyone about this. And he agrees to keep it a secret. And it's important because this sets up in the 5th book when the twins run off into the horizon. They go off and open their joke shop, which then you see in Half-Blood Prince. Whereas in the movie, you don't see any of that. So suddenly, these Weasleys, who are supposed to be dirt poor, suddenly the twins have opened a joke shop. No one knows how they got the fucking money for it. It's just... Yeah, it's just...
Are you suggesting that the movies cut out things that are needed in the later movies?
Yes.
Yes, I very much am. I think we've covered pretty much all the main plot points. So I think we're just going to reel off. We'll call this section random shit that makes no sense or is very funny.
Mm-hmm.
So we have things like, we learn that Mr. and Mrs. Weasley had coitals when they were at school. That's the implication from the scene. So let me try and find the quote in the book.
That's like right before the 3rd task.
Yeah, because
when Bill and Mrs. Weasley come to Hogwarts and they're touring the grounds again.
I think you've read me this, and I thought they could have just been making out.
True,
but I don't know.
The fact that you instantly jumped to coitus.
Wait, what year are they?
Well, I don't know. I didn't specify. To read the quote about Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, so we have, and the fat lady, said Bill. She was here in my time, said Mrs. Weasley. She gave me such a telling off one night when I got back to the dormitory at 4 a.m. What were you doing out of your dormitory at 4 a.m, said Bill, surveying his mother in amazement. Mrs. Weasley grinned, her eyes twinkling. Your father and I had been for a nighttime stroll.
Okay, if it's 4 a.m, then yeah, they smashed.
Yeah.
Who's making out? Who's just making out at 4 a.m?
Who's going on a stroll at 4 a.m?
Yeah. So weird thing number 2. In the maze, there is a sphinx.
Yes.
As in like an Egyptian sphinx. And he's like, so answer this riddle. And Harry's like, here's the answer. The Sphinx is like, all right, you can go through. So again, Sphinxes exist in the Harry Potter world. But
Okay.
we've got leprechauns,
And leprechauns, yeah.
and vampires, and anyway. Next weird thing is the blast-ended Scroots.
Yes.
I didn't understand a word you just said.
The blast-ended Scroots. So I'm going to share my screen, and you shall see.
Blast-ended. It sounds like you're having a stroke.
So blast-ended Scroot.
A scorpion.
It's basically the Wizarding World equivalent of a scorpion.
A scorpion with a boner.
Please, Rob.
It's a scorpion with a winky.
No, so essentially, at some point when Hagrid's teaching care of magical creatures, because he's a teacher now, he comes up with these creations that he's made himself, which is essentially a crab crossed with a scorpion that shoots fire out of its arse.
You made that last bit up.
No,
it's real.
It's called blast-ended Scroot because it shoots fire out of its arse.
That little hole on the bottom right, that's his butthole.
It's
essentially, yes.
Okay, I don't want to be talking about blast-ended Scroot's buttholes. Please. I don't want to be talking about this.
Yeah. I think it's the disbelief on your face, I think, is the fun.
Yeah, but no, an unbelievably ridiculous amount of time is spent on these blast-ended Scroots in the book.
Is J.K. Rowling okay?
No.
We don't... I would imagine not. Interesting little detail is that Harry, when Fudge doesn't believe him about Voldemort, he gets all up in his case and he's like, what the fuck, man? You don't believe me? And Fudge is like, no, and just leave. And so that's meant to set up the fact that in Order of the Phoenix, they're kind of at odds with each other. Whereas in the movie, because I think Fudge's last scene is when he sees Cedric's body, so that, it kind of comes out of nowhere in movie 5 when the Ministry's suddenly against Harry.
Yeah, before you go on, there's actually a detail that's brought up in the book that is interesting. This is the book where you find out that technology does not work in Hogwarts. Because there's too much magic in the air. So yeah, you can't bring your iPhones or your MacBooks to Hogwarts because, obviously.
They would explode.
Pretty much. I think this is also the book where the Department of Mysteries is actually set up, and then Order of the Phoenix really runs with it.
Yeah, which we'll talk more about in the chat about book 5. But I think now we can more or less sum up our overall thoughts on book 4. It is
shit.
It's not good. It's by a country mile the worst of the 4 so far. Whether it will remain the worst, I don't know. We'll have to see when we get through the other books.
Coming from me, as we're recording, I'm on book 7, and I will say, I think spoilers for book 5, but that one's worse than this one because it's more boring. But we'll get to that. But this, if this book is really bad. It's so bad on reread. I think the movie's better, but still the movie is also has a lot of issues.
Yeah, because the problem with the movie is it cuts out so much. It's so like bare bones. Well, like you've cut out most of the kind of the iffy stuff with the elves and the iffy stuff with like the way she writes the foreign wizards, but it's also like all you're left with is just like the only interesting bits of the tournament, and everything in between is just like
we can blame the director Mike Newell for that. He did not give a single fuck, and you can tell. But no, the book is way too bloated. It's too long. It's horrifically fucking racist, and I can't stand it. How did I read this when I was younger and think this was okay?
You're a child, so
I know, but
racism's taught. So if you're not taught racism, you just read it as, oh, he speaks funny, doesn't he? You're not gonna clock.
Yeah, no, it's really fucking boring. In terms of ratings, this is a 1 out of 5.
Oh wow, okay. Because you were fairly positive on the first 3.
Yeah, this is a 1 out of 5. 1.5. Like those, I think what saves it is the opening chapter and the last couple chapters. Like Voldemort and Harry fighting, it saves the book from being like horse shit. Like it's still bad. It's really fucking bad, but it's not like the worst book I've ever read.
Okay, did you have any final thoughts, Rob, on the book, or not really?
No.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I remember getting to the third act, and I was just so bored. I don't even know if I finished Goblet of Fire because I was just so fucking bored.
I think you said you didn't.
And then I've gone back and forth with the movie, as you guys will see in a few days. I used to hate it, then I quite liked it. Who knows what I think now? You'll have to wait. Yeah, actually, the review might drop tomorrow. I forget. I forget how I'm spacing them out. I can't remember. But either way, you'll find out.
So final thoughts. It's boring, it's bloated. You know, there's too many fucking subplots. You needed to trim the fat, and the movie, I guess it's technically an improvement because it cuts most of the problematic stuff, but most of the stuff that you're left with is just not that. Like, I think the ending with Voldemort kind of elevates the movie a bit just because of Ray Fiennes and the set design and things like that. But as a book, it's thoroughly listless and boring.
Yeah, no, but like I like the movie that I'm about to mention, but with the amount of subplots, Goblet of Fire is basically the Spider-Man 3 of the Harry Potter franchise, or the Amazing Spider-Man 2 of the Harry Potter franchise, because it is filled with 400 fucking subplots.
Yeah. What an insult to Amazing Spider-Man 2.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the worst supposed book. Join us in a couple days and we'll be going through part 5, which is a phenomenal movie and must be based on a phenomenal book.
No.
It must be flawless.
No.
Well, we'll get to that in time. But yeah, enjoy everyone.